Hi, this is Mitch from Hard Intentions. Figured I'd carry on a little bit more today. First off, once again, we have our new shirt. Front, it's got our logo, Hard Intentions. And then in the back, we have Hard Intentions. Yes, indeed. That's our new hammer drop. The guy's going to drop the hammer. Anyway, it's our new shirt. And I hope you guys like it. We're going to post them up on the website as soon as possible. My tech support, my beautiful wife, Adrian, post them up. And you guys will be able to purchase them at our website, hardintentions.com. You can also check out some of my Instagram posts. It's mitch.smiley.790. And once again, I want to thank everybody who's purchased stuff from our website. Up in Canada, we got some people in the UK from the Channel Islands. Thanks. I mean, people that live in other countries are paying $50, $60 shipping for a $25 shirt. Just blows my mind. It's a serious validation that what I'm doing is positive and good, and I'm putting out a good product and people like it. So I just want to thank you for that. If you like our YouTube channels, please like it, please subscribe it, and all that good stuff. So, when I was in Donovan, I got a job I mentioned before as a plumber. And, when you work with somebody day in and day out for several years, you get to know them, they get to know you, develop a little trust. My boss that I worked there with, she's since retired. And when I got ready to go to board before I got out, she had sent me a Christmas card, told me that she had retired, and which blew my mind. And I wrote her back, and she sent a letter to the pro board for me. So, I mean, that's the level of trust that I developed with her over the years, First time I was in Donovan, I worked with her for about 3.5 years, and she taught me everything I knew about plumbing. Just a massive amount of information. Later on in Lancaster, I took the vocational plumbing class, and she taught me so much. I breezed. I could have done that class in probably 2 weeks, and then, but the instructor told me, no, you can just do 1 test a week. And when I got ready to graduate, he asked me to create 5 more tests for him for the class. I mean, that's how much she taught me as a plumber. I remember she used to go to IST classes, and it's in-service training for staff. They do that like once a month. And one time she came back and I said, so what did they teach you in there today? She started laughing and I said, what's so funny? She says, well, they teach us not to share our lunch with you guys. What's so funny about that? She says, I don't share my lunch with you. I bring you your own lunch, which is kind of funny. I mean, it's kind of a rare thing now, but I mean, staff might be like, hey, they'll have a little spread for their lunch, and they'll call you in and say, hey, how about cleaning them bowls for us, and there'll be some food in the bowls, and they feed you so bad in there, man. It's stuff like that really, when people treat you like a human being that working in prisons, it means a lot. So anyway, we used to cruise from yard to yard, and I remember, she grew up in Logan Heights, which is the hood down there in San Diego, and anyway, nothing really shocked her, and she wasn't chummy up with all the staff. Some of them were cool with her and some of them weren't. But I remember the kid I told you about who got in a fight and went to the hole, and he got in a fight in the hole, and the cop shot him and killed him. That cop got put back out in a building on the yard that I worked in. And, one time we'd go up to the building to go in. We used to make our rounds. We'd hit each building every day, go in, check the work orders. We kept our buildings top notch, If you had a plumbing problem, we're on it. So we knock on the door to come in, and they got 2 gates. One slides open, you go in, then the next one slides open, you're in the day room. So we get to the second gate, and this cop that shot that kid's working in that building, and he's got these dudes waxing the floor, and he tells us, he made a big deal about it, you can't come in, I'm waxing the floor, and And then we went another time, man, and we walked on the floor. He just had wax, and he threw a little bitch fit about it, right? So I said, all right, you know. And my boss didn't like that shit either, you know. So I told her, hey, man, we're putting that fucking dude on restriction. You know, who the fuck's he think he is, you know, talking to us like that? And she was like, all right. So for about, I don't know, a month, maybe a month and a half, we didn't go in that building ever. And they'd call and say, hey, we need this work done, we need that work done. And she'd just say, oh, we don't have the parts. And she taught me how to do that, you know. Like if I went on a job as an emergency plumber after hours, I'd just run into a cop that was a prick. I'd say, hey, I don't have the parts to fix that. So we did that to that guy for like a month and a half. It was funny. And he'd see us on the yard, you know, we'd be parked. She'd be doing paperwork and you know, sitting in the golf cart we cruised around in with all our tools and shit. And she'd say, you know, I can't help you. We don't have the parts. Yeah, that was pretty cool, man. You know, and then one day I said, you know, I think the restrictions have been on long enough. And we finally went in that building to work in there, and that guy was just happy as hell to see us. He couldn't accommodate us anymore. I mean, he was just, he went out of his way to accommodate us. Yeah. So there's ways, you know, when you get in a spot like that where you can get yours, you know. But I remember, you know, one time we went in the building and I had got this friend of mine on the crew. He's from Dago, older cat. And, you know, we're both working on cells. And then she would sit right in the middle with the tools, and we'd go back and forth to the toolbox, get shit we need, parts or whatever. And some dude come in, man, and this black dude comes in and goes, hey, man, can you check my cell out, my plumbing? Well, we're both working on cells. She goes, yeah, I'll be over there in a minute. Well, this guy went in his cell. And I didn't know none of this. She told me later, you know. So anyway, she goes over to the dude's cell. And, you know, I found out later, the guy stripped down, is laying on his bed, jacking his shit off. She goes in there to look to see what his plumbing problem is. And, you know, busted her eye. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I didn't know what happened. She just comes over to me and says, cell like 23, whatever the number of cell the guy was in, he's got nothing fucking coming. And, you know, she never got mad. She never cussed. She told me, that guy's got nothing coming. She was mad as fuck. So we finished working and shit, and I'm tripping like, I tell you, what that guy do, man? She goes, nothing. Don't worry about it, you know. So, you know, I kept asking her, you know, a couple days go by, what the fuck that guy do, man? Don't worry about it. It's okay, you know. And so then we're driving down the alley, and between the 2 yards, they got these roads that go, you know, separate the prison. We're coming out of the shop, going down the alley. Well, we drive by the back dock of the main kitchen, and the dude's standing on the back dock. I don't really trip, you know, but she's driving, you know, she looks over, and she goes, that's it, that motherfucker. I guess he was standing on the back dock, like, you know, holding his crotch, like, you know. Yeah. So, I go, man, what the fuck's going on, you know? Then she told me what the guy did, and I says, oh, okay. Well, I had some black dudes on that yard that I knew from Tracy and San Quentin and, you know, other prisons, man. And, you know, all I had to go is tell them what the fuck, and they liked my boss a lot. And we had respect for each other, mutual respect, you know. So one of a couple things could have happened. I could have went over to the yard. What I was going to do is go tell this friend of mine, Al, he's from L.A., you know, he's a black dude, and I was going to tell him what happened. Tell him, look, man, you guys could smash him, you know, or I'm going to come over here and stab his fucking ass just to let him know what's up. Because you got to remember, man, you know, stand-up dudes don't like, that's like a sex offense, man. I mean, you're flashing your fucking dick on somebody. What are you going to do? I mean, people do that shit on the street. Some guy flashes his dick on some chick on the street. He's going to jail, man. So, I mean, you know, it's just, anyway. She told me, I'm like, yeah, okay. And then she's driving and she goes, I don't want you to do anything. I said, I won't. It's all good. I said, don't worry about it. I'm good. And she goes, I mean it. It's not worth it. Because now she's told me, she starts worrying, you know, like, I'm going to go over there and have something done to this guy or do something to him myself. I said, don't worry about it. I said, it's okay. It'll be all right. No, I mean it. I don't want you to do anything. I said, it's all good. I'm not going to do nothing, guy. It's okay. And so we go to the shop, we get our tools and, all that kind of shit. And then we drive to the yard. And she goes, just wait here. And she parked in front of the program office. I was like, fuck, Now, you got to figure, she worked there for quite a while at this point, at least 7 or 8 years. And she never wrote anyone up. A disciplinary write-up is called a 115. That's every piece of paper they file in there has a category, has a number. So the number for that particular paperwork is a 115 disciplinary action. They have 128s, which is general information chrono or disciplinary chrono, 128G, 128, whatever. So she's never written anyone up for anything, ever. And she just didn't do it, So she went in the office and she's like, hey, this guy, because now the guy's, grabbing his dick when she's driving by, and she's told me about it. So she's tripping like she has to do something. She doesn't want the guy getting killed. And so she goes in the office, man, and there's this lieutenant in there. I knew him when he was a CO. This guy worked in some pretty serious prisons, and at that time, Donovan was a pretty kickback place. And I guess she told him and a couple of the other COs, they're both, they're Hispanic dudes, they're Mexican cats, right? And they don't like that fucking shit. And she's a Mexican chick, and she's nice. She treated everybody with respect and everything. And she says, I just want to ride a 128G. And they go, oh, no. You're going to write that fucking dude a 115. And so we're waiting, and she's like, I'm going to take you guys home. And she took us back to the shop, we went home. So she had to, write this 115 on this cat. And, it's kind of like sexual predatory behavior, man. And that shit doesn't fly in prison, especially for white dudes. Any stand-up motherfucker does it. Shit don't fly, So anyway, they put him in the hole, This guy was like 6 months to the house. So they locked him up in Ad Seg, the hole. Put him in the box. And I was like, Lola was like, my boss was like, she wasn't apologetic, but she was like, feeling me out. And I was like, hey, I go, that guy's got that coming, whatever. I just cool. I just kind of like, hey, it's cool. I would have rather stabbed the motherfucker myself. But, so they let the guy out of the hole and they put him on another yard. And I guess he didn't get his property. I kept getting updates, hey, what's up with that dude? Where's he at? They put him on the 3 yard, which is another yard. And, before anything could happen, like before we could get a plan together and get some action going, or, someone beat him down or stick a hole in him, the cops would fucking find another reason. That dude was in and out of the hole. Like he'd do a month in the hole, 2-3 days in the yard, month in the hole until he went home. And they lost his property. They got paroled with nothing. So that was, we didn't get a chance to do nothing to that fucking dude for that. But trust me, a lot of people wanted to, But, it's prison, man, working on the plumbing crew. But I went to Corcoran from there, getting caught on a family visit. My points went up. They booked me for falsifying a family visiting application. And, like 2 months after that 115 for being on a family visit and falsifying the application and everything, they took our family visits away. Sacramento grandstanding with the public, they took our family visit. These guys shouldn't have conjugal visits. They're not conjugal visits. They're fucking family visits. Guys doing, 10, 20 years in prison, man, on a term to life. That's the only way to maintain contact with your family and a relationship with your wife, your children, your mother, father, whatever. It's through family visits, and they took them away. So that's when I was really like, this is bullshit. That's like a sign, We're not getting out. They're just gonna keep fucking us. We're the whooping boys, the whooping post. Guys with term to life sentences, You're the because everyone else has a set term. They could take their good time away. So if a guy has 5 years, he could get out in 3 years or 4, whatever. If he fucks up, they could take that good time away and have to do the whole 5 years. But still, he's going to get out, But when the guys doing term to life, they just kept taking our shit and taking our shit, Around 96, they took our family visits. I got in trouble. I got bounced over to old Corcoran. And then when I got to Corcoran, 97, they took the fucking weights away from us. But, so now here I am, back in, everyone hears about Corcoran, the cops are shooting people in the hole. They're having gladiator fights in the chow hall and all this shit. The FBI's there investigating the staff for all this shit. I'm like, oh, great. Because, I've been in a kickback prison for 3.5 years, and prior to that I was in Tracy, which it was, touch and go. I had some shit happening, but it was pretty lax. And what I didn't really realize is it's not that the prisons were just kickback. It's just I learned how to kick back. I learned how to let shit roll off my shoulders and not take things so serious. And, when you're younger, or when I was younger, something this big, because I see little things like this when I first came to prison turn into huge things where guys lost their lives. So I learned to recognize this is only this big. It might not even be that big. It's not that big, So you learn how to just recognize situations for what they are and just kick it, So I've been doing that for a while. Now I'm back in the fire, out of the frying pan and in the fire, right? Level 4 prison. But, I drive up, man, and there's, I sit on Fish Row, and then I got shot over to 3B yard, and there's Matt, my old cellie, and a couple of homeboys like, hey, what's up, Smiley, So I'm like, hey, old home week, right? And, Corcoran was a violent place, man, but you know what? It's like this. If you're fucking with drugs, you don't pay your debts, you're going to get whacked. If you're into politicking and all that kind of shit, you want to join up with some prison gang that was on the rise, you're going to be in the mix. Then, it's going to be, you're going to be put in a situation where you might have to hurt someone or you might get hurt. But anyway, I celled up with Matt, I started tattooing on him. And I worked in the building, man, for about a year as a tier tender. And that, because they ran a split program. They would run like the bottom tier out to the yard in the morning, and then at lunch they would bring the yard in. They'd do the close custody count for the guys that were on close custody, and then in the afternoon they'd run the upper tier out to the yard. Well, Matt worked on the yard, and I didn't want to be in my fucking cell half the day every day. So and then on the weekends, they just let A1A guys out, the guys that have jobs, that work all week, they got yard all day on the weekends, and the guys that didn't have jobs, so I'm A1A, but I'm a tier tender. So I sweep mop tier real quick, whatever, and run on out to the yard. And it was cool, I had the yard all day long. And then I'd go out and play handball all day. Me and Matt would team up, play handball all day. The weights were gone, so you play handball, walk the track, get all the scuttlebutt on what's happening on the yard, who owes money, who's mad at who, And, you get to watch people do stupid shit. But it was cool. I liked that. And I did that for about a year. Then I got a job in a wood factory in PIA. But, one time I'd done my job, I was going out to the yard, and there was that kid there, Opie. He was from San Diego. He was from out of state, but he got busted in San Diego, so he was claiming San Diego, but he was from out of state. So anyway, he was a dope fiend, man, but for the most part he paid his debts, but every now and then he'd fall behind. He owed this guy was from Sinaloa, man, and then they had another guy there, two groups of Pisces, you know. One guy was from Sinaloa, and the other guy was Baja area, you know. Anyway, there's two crews of them, you know. One crew was like kickback, just want to make their money. The other crew they make their money, but if you owed them, you get, you know. So anyway, this guy owed him, and he was late, and he told him, look, I'm gonna pay your $50. Here's the $50, and I'm gonna pay you an extra $50, or I'll give you a $50 paper heroin for being late. So interest, right? So he pays the guy the $50 he owes him, and then he forgets about. Actually, what happened was he didn't tell him that. A guy, my neighbor that I used to fuck around with, told him that. You know, because he didn't want to see this guy get stabbed, you know. So they're like, yeah, okay. So the guy pays the $50 he owes him, but he doesn't pay him the interest, the $50 cash or the $50 paper of dope that they could sell for cash. He didn't pay that. But he's thinking, hey, I'm good. I paid my $50, right? So this dude's out running the track, and this kid, Opie's walking in the opposite direction, you know, and guy just runs by, wow. He buries a knife in the dude's neck while he's jogging boom, you know. So I'm going out to the yard, and you know, I want to go out and get some exercise, right? So the pop gate opens, then the inside gate, I'm going out the inside gate, and the front gate's open, you know. And there's Opie, he's like this, I go, oh, what the fuck? He's got a piece sticking out the side of his neck. I go, man, what the fuck happened to you, Opie? He goes, yeah, they stabbed me in my neck, you know. And that was the end of Opie, you know. But yeah, he was all right, but he's a dope fiend. He owed money. Then, you know, I was tattooing there, and this kid Robert was tattooing there. I think he was from the Central Valley somewhere. His work was pretty good, you know, but he was a fucking dope fiend, man. I mean, a serious dope fiend, and guys were paying him money, you know, for tattoos. But he was in debt, man. This one Pisces was really upset about it. He was actually from El Salvador. But so Robert tells me, hey, man, there's a level 4, real politicky, you know. There were a lot of, you know, white guys were like that prison gang that had the other gang, street gang type guys, you know, skinhead kids, and trying to policies on guys and shit. And my thing is, I always tell people, hey, look, man, no one calls shots on me, you know. It's not that I'm a fucking hard ass motherfucker. It's just that I know how to live in prison. I know the fucking rules, and you're not going to tell me what to do. I don't give a fuck who you are, you know. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? But by now I'm thinking, hey, I'm never getting out. So if some guy doesn't like me, telling me, no, fuck you, you're not running me, he could stab me, kill me. What's the big deal? I get an early fucking discharge, right? So anyway, this kid Robert tells me, hey, man, you know, this northerner told me, man, that he will pay my drug debts and kick me down all the dope I want, man, to tattoo on him. What do you think? I said, well, you know, you're the guy tattooing. Now you got to remember, this kid tattooed pretty good. Had a lot of white dudes that wanted tattoos. Some of them thought they were shot collar motherfuckers and all this shit, you know. And I knew a couple of them, and I used to touch base with these guys just to keep my feelers out, you know, to get to feel what's going on the yard. Plus Matt worked on the yard, you know. By now I'm working in PIA, so I'm off the yard all day. I come home I got an hour or two a yard at the end of the day after work. But I tell the kid, hey, man, you know, if your balls are big enough, go do it. I don't give a fuck. You know, you're the guy doing the tattoo work. And he goes, oh, well, you know, so-and-so and this guy, you know. I said, they're just going to be mad because you're not tattooing on them. So the kid starts working on these dudes, you know. And he's like, man, they kick me down, and, you know. So next thing I know, these white dudes come and tell me, hey, man, did you tell that kid it's all right to work on them guys? You know, that's okay. I said, hey, look, man, I told that fucking kid that if you had enough balls to go do it, then do it. If you got the nuts to do it, do it. You know, I didn't tell him it's okay or not okay. I told him if you got the balls to do it, fucking do it. I go, you motherfuckers are just mad now because he ain't tattooing on you. Keep it real, right? You're just using the fact that the guys, what's the difference? Northerner, Southerner, they're both Hispanics, right? If it's okay to tattoo, I was tattooing on a South Sider there, right? Baby ow. And so, what's the difference? They just got pissed off because he wasn't tattooing on them anymore for free, you know? But, so anyway, he would have, once he was done tattooing on this Northerner, or he could have worked a schedule where they could have got their fucking tattoo work. So anyway, they sweat this kid and tell him, you know, you can't do that no more. So basically, if you keep tattooing on that Northerner, you know, we're going to fucking remove you from the yard, you know. So, and right about now is when this removal shit started happening, which is they 2-on-1 you in front of the cops and get you removed. So anyway, so Robert quits tattooing on this kid, right, on the Northerner guy. I'm like, what are you going to do now? He goes, man, that's fucked up. You know, that guy was going to pay all my debts. He was paying the Robert dope and all this shit. So one day after breakfast, you know, the yard goes down, big alarm. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You know, well, that guy Robert owed money to, that paisa from El Salvador, he went to chow now in the morning. You know, the doors are open. Corcoran was pretty loose for level 4, you know. So the guy went to chow out of another building. He waited for Robert's building to go to chow. Went back to the building. Robert went to his cell. His cell doors open. That paisa went in there and stabbed the fuck out of him. And then left the building. He got away with it. You know, somebody told on him. Somebody in that building saw him go in there and stab that motherfucker up and told on him. He got busted. But he got in and out without getting caught. And Robert didn't die, but he almost died. He had to have like transfusions and all that shit, life flight. He almost died. He got fucked up bad, and he never came back to the yard because you know, it was all bad after that. He told on the guy too that stabbed him. But you see, because that fucking kid cowed down to fucking political pressure from these fucking lames that wanted tattoo work for free, he got stabbed. And then them dudes never got no tattoo work from him because he's gone, because he couldn't pay his fucking debt. So that's how prison works, you know. Guys don't give a fuck about the next guy for the most part. Some guys do, you know. You have to be able to make that decision, and it has to be a snap decision. I got to where I could, I meet a guy, within 5 minutes I say, that dude's a piece of shit, you know, and I usually turns out to be right, you know. But yeah, Corcoran was a wild fucking place, man. It's like the Wild Wild West. You know, guys are getting stabbed all the time and getting away with it. There was a lot of guys getting away with stabbings, never got caught. It was great, man. I liked that place a lot. And not just because there were stabbings and guys got away with it, because it was kind of old school. Corcoran was one of the newer prisons to open, and a lot of the cops that went there worked at Old Folsom and San Quentin, and they went there and they ran it old school. You know, they had good food, you know, they had a good program. They didn't fucking sweat the small shit. It was cool. I liked it there. You know, I remember one time, you know, my old lady come up to visit me, and I went out to the yard, you know, and this dude got whacked out there. But you go down to the far corner to the little pop gate, and you go through this gate, and then you go out to the visiting room, you know, there's a walkway. And so I'm in the corner of the yard there at the gate, and then right up from there is a program office, and this dude was, he was a Hispanic cat, right? I'm like looking over my shoulder because I heard, you know, something's going down, you know, and I'm pushing the button for the guy in the visiting room to pop my gate so I could go through, right? So I go, fuck. Right when the gate pops, you know, this youngster got on this dude, and he's just riding his back, man, just stabbing the fuck out of this dude. And I go, fuck. I shut the gate, you know, get on in the... Once I got in the visiting room, as soon as I sat down, the alarms went off, you know. But, I mean, it was, you know, it was crazy. Turns out that dude, that dude was walking around. Now with them dudes, they said you pick up a Bible or a knife, kind of was the policy. So this dude was going around saying he was a Christian dude and all that, but I think he was hiding behind that, but there was an old man, he would just fat mouth this old man and push him around and then go to church and say he's a Christian and all this kind of stuff. And then they just got tired of that shit, Once they saw he was bullying this old man, they just weren't having it. They went out to the fucking yard and stabbed the piss out of him, But for me, I was just lucky to get out to my visit that day. I was glad, that I could get out to my visit. Because once the yard goes down, you're not leaving the yard. Not for a visit, not for anything, Well, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. I want to thank guys that have been ordering our stuff. Daniel Mack, thanks for the Patreon contribution. We appreciate it. And, people who have been buying our t-shirts and, we have repeated customers, people buying stickers. Man, we really appreciate your support off our website. Thank you very much. I'm going to have another interview coming up with a guy I was in prison with on a first-degree murder, him and his brother. I'm going to interview one of them. He's a good man. He's out parole. He's living in another state. He has an interesting story, and he's a Los Angeles man. So we'll hope you stay tuned for that. I'm going to get that done as soon as possible, I hope. You guys take care of yourselves. Remember, you only got one life, man. Enjoy it. And whatever you do, do it hard. Thank you very much.